Kansas Hatters' first pitch is sponsored by Florida Orthopedic Associates, the official team physicians of your Stetson Hatters.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A rare Monday game here at Melching Field as Steve Trimper's ball club rocking their home whites, sporting a 10-win and 5-loss record. We'll play the first of 2 scheduled games this week against the visiting Black Bears from the University of Maine. Thank you for joining us here on Hatter Vision. I'm Masad Bendion. Charlie Franklin, the man behind the lens. Dominic Stagliano getting his second start of the year for the Hatters. Last time we saw him, he filled in for a sick Danny Garcia who was battling a stomach bug, and all Stagliano did that evening was throw probably his best game as a Stetson Hatter, going 6 2/3 with 1 run, that one not earned, and racking up 6 Ks on the way to a 7-1 victory. Stetson so far in the month of March, it has been good for them. 6 wins and 2 losses. That performance from Stagliano giving the Hatters the first of their 6 wins. They are currently on a 5-game win streak as they not only swept Sacred Heart, but also swept Florida A&M. They've actually won 6 out of their last 7. In between the Sacred Heart games, there was a 4-0 loss to Bethune-Cookman. So now we welcome in the Black Bears from the University of Maine. Very traditional look for both sides today. Maine in their road grays, Stetson in their home whites. Maine entering tonight with a 3-win, 9-loss record, losing 2 out of 3 over the weekend across the state, playing North Dakota State in Winter Haven, a neutral site for both squads. Maine's 1 win in that weekend series was a shutout, though, 7-0. Stetson, of course, had 2 shutouts of their own over the weekend against Florida A&M. But dropped right there by Jeff Mejia. Stagliano throw in the first, and that is our first out. So we'll set the lineup for both sides momentarily. You just saw Jeff Mejia right there. He is the center fielder. Batting up for Maine right now, the designated hitter, number 28, Jeremiah Jenkins. The only freshman in the lineup for Nick Durba's squad. Left-handed hitter, fouls the first one off, and I think that one may have caught a bit of Christian Pregent there. Pregent, of course, Stetson's number 1 catcher. Took the day off yesterday. Daniel Labrador getting the start behind the plate. In the infield for Stetson, it's Jacob Bullard at first. Banks Griffith getting a start at second base. Camden Traficante, who's been the second baseman recently, is at short. Andrew Estrella getting the day off. Kyle Ball at third. Big cut there from Jenkins makes it 0-2. Outfield, the same as it's been for Stetson recently. Cam Hill in center. Nick DePonzio to his left. Anthony DeFabia to his right. Stagliano firing high there. 1-2 to count now on Jenkins. Quinn McDaniel, the second baseman, is in the on-deck circle. Joe Bermonti, the first baseman, batting cleanup. He leads Maine in home runs this year, as Stagliano fires outside, 2-2. Bermonti actually with 4 home runs. His 15 RBIs also leads the team. Ryan Turin, the catcher, batting 5th. Scout Knox, the left fielder, is 6th. Jenkins smokes that in the right field. Anthony DeFabia is going to pick it up right at the warning track, and Jenkins won't have to go any further than that as he gets his first hit of the game.
Quinn McDaniel.
Jenkins had thoughts there of going for 2. He took a wide turn, but then thought better of it. The Stetson defense, especially in the outfield, has a fair amount of speed. They can get the balls quickly. To round out the lineup here for Maine, you've got Jake Reynes, the third baseman, batting 7th. Jake Marquez, the shortstop, batting 8th. And Jordan Shulafon, the right fielder, in the 9th spot. And this is Quinn McDaniel, sophomore second baseman. Now looking at a 1-0 count. McDaniel, second on the Black Bears in batting average, 271 on the season. Does have a home run, 7 RBIs. 4 doubles on the year, is tied for the team lead alongside Marquez and Bramante. Throw over to first there from Stagliano. Dominic, by the way, making his second start of the year, his 5th appearance. 1-0 record with a 3.18 ERA. That one win, of course, Sacred Heart. And that's fires outside, 2-0 the count. This series dominated all time by Stetson. They're playing their 17th game overall, as Stagliano gets the strike call there. Stetson with 11 wins, Maine with 5. Last time these two teams met was in Pete Dunn's final year at Stetson. Hatters getting the weekend sweep over the Bears. The 2-1 is hit hard in the center. Backing up is Cam Hill. Looking over his left shoulder, makes the grab. Jenkins will stay put at first, and that's 2 outs for Joe Bramante.
Batting fourth, first baseman, number 24, Joe Bramante.
This is the Bear with the biggest stick. 4 homers, 15 RBIs, slugging at a .571 clip. Those are all leaders in the Maine clubhouse. Also has the most at-bats on the year for Maine so far with 49. And he lays off. He's a big dude, Joe Bramante. 6'5", 250 from North Andover, Massachusetts. As you might imagine, this Maine squad pretty heavy on the Northeast ties, but they've got a little bit of Florida flavor, actually, as that misses there. 3 players, as a matter of fact, from the state of Florida. 2 of them are in the lineup today, and Jake Marquez and Jordan Schulafond. That misses outside, so the count now 3-0 on Bramante. The other Florida guy, by the way, is Connor Goodman. He's not in the lineup today. Stagliano wants a strike, and Nathaniel Starr gives it to him there. Shannon Jernigan at first, John Bennett in third. That's your men in blue. We are scoreless here. Top 1 at Melching. 2 outs on the board. Jeremiah Jenkins with the leadoff single. And that's Bramante hitting it hard in the left. DePonzio's there, though. And that single from Jenkins is all Maine would get. We are scoreless. Hats grab the bats for the first time when we come back on Hatter Vision. Bottom of the first, and Stetson with the sticks for the first time today. Cam Hill will lead us off, as has been the case all year long. Camden Traficante, Nick DePonzio due up for Stetson here. First pitch, Hill swinging, popper into, well, let's just say shallow center, but really above the infield dirt near second base. And just like that, Cam Hill is retired. Camden Traficante. He's the big mover in the lineup card today for the Hatters. Been a regular in the 9th spot. Now he's batting second. First pitch strike there from Noah Lewis. Where's number 33? Delivers that one high. Lewis making his second start of the year. 0-1 record with a 14.73 ERA. That one letter high, but Nathaniel Starr not giving it. 2-1 the count now on Camden Traficante. Lewis, a sophomore. Check swing there from another sophomore in Traficante. And now we're looking at a 2-2 count. Traficante batting .324. Entering today, lays off that one, full count. And while the batting average has been good for Traficante, where he's really excelled is getting on base. His 12 walks lead the team. On-base percentage of .500. He is tied with Nick DePonzio there. DePonzio, of course, on deck. And Traficante is going to improve that on base.
Left fielder, number 11, Nick DePonzio.
First pass of the day for Noah Lewis. And that'll bring up, of course, DePonzio. Graduate left fielder, former Wake Forest Demon Deacon. DePonzio's been swinging arguably the meanest stick for the Hatters this year when he's been in the lineup. .385 batting average, 7 RBIs, 2 doubles on the season, 15 hits, almost all of them singles. Tries to drop the bunt there. And that just tipped off the bat. So 0-1 for DePonzio. He's had some big hits, though. Of course, opening day, the walk-off win over Delaware. He delivered the game-winning hit in the bottom of the 9th. Traficante about 2 strides from the bag. Throw over to first as he'll get back quickly. Traficante 1 for 3 in stolen base attempts this year. This Hatters team been running a lot more this season than they have in recent years. DePonzio fouls that away. 0-2. Stetson actually enters the game today with 35 stolen bases. That's exactly the same number that they had all last year. So 1 more steal, and they've already had more than they did in all of 2021. Let's see if Traficante goes for it here. He does not. DePonzio goes oppo, and that's fouled off the netting, 0-2. The netting that's over the third base dugout, which is where the Maine Black Bears are set up, as is the case with road teams when they come visit Melching Field. Not too far away from downtown DeLand. In my opinion, one of the cooler small downtowns in the entire state of Florida. If you like the hippie, funky vibe, DeLand certainly has that. We are just south of DeLand, and if you go on the other side of downtown, north side, you will run straight into the Stetson University campus. Matter of fact, the road that Melching Field is on, US 17, is also the road that goes right through Stetson's campus. Nice place if you've never been there. I know we have a lot of Maine fans listening in today, so just a friendly piece of advice. Traficante's going. Throw is high to throw to second. In time, Traficante's nailed. So, Stetson will have to wait for steal number 36 another time. Ryan Turin with the gun out there and 2 outs on the board. Joe Bramante at first, Quinn McDaniel at second, Jake Marquez at short, Jake Reynes at third, Jeff Mejia at center, Scout Knotson left, and Jordan Schulafond in right. And with the Ponzio fouling that one off, count remains at 2-2. The Ponzio from Macon, Georgia. Swinging at that one and fouling it off again. The Ponzio, one of 2 from the Peach State on this Hatters roster. The others also in the starting lineup today. Banks Griffith. Banks getting some time at second. He has been Stetson's starter at second more often than not this year, but recently he's been riding the bench. The 2-2 is hit hard in the right field, but not particularly deep. Schulafond won't have to go too far to make this. And the side is retired. Hatters down 1-2-3, albeit a bit unconventionally with that caught stealing. And we head to the top of the second, still scoreless. You're watching Hatters. Five, 6, and 7 here for Nick Durba and his Maine Black Bears. Ryan Turin, Scout Knox, and Jake Reynes. Catcher left and third, respectively, for the team in the gray uniform and dark blue lettering. Dominic Stagliano needing 16 pitches to get through that first inning, as he aims for his second quality start in a row. Stagliano has been mainly used out of the pen, did get his first start against Sacred Heart recently, and delivered his best performance as a Hatter along the way. 2-1 count now on Ryan Turin, senior from Lynn, Massachusetts. Backs out of the way of that one, 3-1 the count. Turin this year has been kind of a platoon spot with Colby Emmerts. Emmerts swinging a much hotter bat, but Turin doing the job there with the walk. Scout Knotts will step in. We are scoreless, top 2 here in Melching. Thank you for joining us this Monday afternoon on Hatter Vision via YouTube. I'm Masad Bendian. Rare Monday game here at Melching Field. It is very unusual for the Hatters to schedule a game on a Monday. Matter of fact, this wasn't scheduled, so that kind of shows you how unusual it is. Throw over to first. Mondays is actually an off day for the Stetson baseball team during the season, but this game moved up due to weather concerns. Stetson and Maine scheduled to play Tuesday, Wednesday this week, as Stagliano gets the strike there. But the weather report for Wednesday is not good. Rain extremely likely, so both teams decided to take the Wednesday game and play today. That's in for a strike. Knott's down 0-2 here. As of right now, tomorrow's game is set for a 6:30 start. That could change, though, because we are expecting weather tomorrow night, too. Speaking of the weather, gorgeous. 72 degrees. Wind out of the east at 12 miles an hour. Humidity at just under 60%, which is actually a little higher than we've seen it recently. Rain chances practically nil. I know there's a fair amount of cloud cover in the sky, but most of the clouds are the friendly variety. 1-2. Check swing, and Knotts is down.
You're not that guy.
So give Stagliano his first punch out. Jake Reynes will now step in. Maine as a team batting .233 on the season. They do have 8 homers on the year. 4 of those coming from Joe Bermonti. Jake Reynes thinking about bunt there, but he pulls back. Count now 0-1 on the sophomore. From Maryland, Baltimore to be precise. And Stagliano fires low. Stagliano from Boynton Beach, not too far south of DeLand, about maybe 3 hours or so, give or take. Traffic on 95. Big cut there from Reynes. 1-2. He is a freshman, 6'2", 184 is how he stands. Split his time in high school between Olympic Heights in Boca and Palm Beach Gardens. Had 5 career complete games in high school, including 1 no-hitter. And he's dealing filth right now. Reynes down looking. Second punch out in a row for Stags, as that brings up Jake Marquez.
Number 6, Jake Marquez.
And in case you're wondering, Stags is actually a nickname of his on the team. Coach Tripper uses it every once in a while for him. Jake Marquez, the shortstop. First pitch into left center, but Cam Hill's right there, snatches it right in front of the DeGrom banner to retire the side. So 4 batters coming up for Maine. Turin with the leadoff walk, and that's all Maine could get. Bottom 2 coming up, we're scoreless on Hatter Vision. Part of the order for the Hatters here, Juan Correa, Anthony DeFavia, Kyle Ball. We are still scoreless here at Melching. Noah Lewis on the bump again for his second inning of work, and the first pitch is low, 1-0. Correa holds off there. 2-0 to count now on the freshman. And he goes swing and chops that one up the middle. So the hitting continues for Juan Correa.
Batting fifth, the right fielder, number 8, Anthony Fabia.
Correa rocking a .346 batting average entering this game. That was his 10th hit of the season. And here comes Anthony DeFabia. There's only 2 other hatters with a higher batting average than Juan Correa. DeFabia is one of them. .383. His 12 RBIs lead the team. Also tied for the team lead in sac flies and sac hits. And that time he'll be adding to his hit by pitch total. His second of the year, by the way. So, Noah Lewis already in a bit of trouble here with 2 runners on and none out for Kyle Ball. Lewis, a sophomore from South Portland, Maryland. 6'2" is how he stands. And 200 pounds. Was a regular in the starting rotation for Maine last year. This year relegated more to spot start and relief duty, at least so far. Fastball high there to ball, 1-0. Last year, Lewis had a 5.16 ERA in 12 appearances. They were all starts. Racking up 45 Ks in 61 innings pitched. Had a 4-win, 6-loss record along the way, too. Looks over at second. The 1-0 is popped up. Foul territory. That'll go flying towards Hatter Hill. Actually smacks off the hitting pavilion. Lewis, one of the few guys coming back from Maine this year with significant starting experience, really the only one. Part of their starting rotation last year alongside Nick Sinicola and Alex McKenney, both of whom ended up signing free agent contracts after the season. In Sinicola's case, he was actually drafted pretty high, 7th round by San Francisco. He was a beast for the Bears last year. Had a 2.04 ERA, racking up 139 Ks in 79 1/3 innings pitched. That's a K ratio anybody would love, as Ball fouls that away. McKenney not too bad in his own right last year, 3.67 ERA. Not as much of a strikeout pitcher, but certainly had good numbers besides that. Opponents only batting .214 against them last season, and you know that was a big reason why Maine ended up finishing the year with 22 victories. They actually were 500 for the season, not only overall but in conference. Actually, correction. Conference, they were actually 1 game under 500. Maine ending their season last year, going 1-2 in the Ames tourney. Stony Brook, their only victory. They ended up losing to Stony Brook in the losers bracket after losing to NJIT. And of course, NJIT, an opponent that Stetson fans are familiar with before making their move to the NEC. The Highlanders were a part of the Atlantic Sun, of course. A team that, frankly, got beat up in conference play in the A-Sun more often than not. Ball backs off of that one. Count now 2-2, but probably not really fair to compare the two conferences baseball-wise. It makes a huge difference when one is playing in the South all year with friendly baseball weather all year, and the other's in the North where you don't really have friendly baseball weather for like 6 months of the year. 2-2 is popped up. Foul territory. Bramante is there, and the first baseman snags it for out number 1.
Batting 7th, the first baseman, number 23, Jacob Fuller.
Jake Bullard falling in the order entering this contest. He has been around the middle of the lineup. He was fourth, actually, in yesterday's win over Florida A&M. Now he's seventh. 1-0 the count now for Bullard. Part of that is because of the strikeouts. He is tops on the team with 16 punch-outs on the year. Even with that, sporting a batting average nearly 300, so when he's made connection, it's usually been positive. The 1-0, and Bullard backs out of that one, 2-0. Also been pretty decent drawing walks, 6 on the year. On-base percentage of .382. The .340 slugging, probably something that the coaches would like to see a little higher for a middle-of-the-order guy, but still early in the season, of course, as Bullard looks at that fastball, 2-1. Bullard, a former walk-on for the Hatters. Last year, really an afterthought on this team, hardly played. He went from there in one season to winning the starting first base job by opening day. And now he's looking at a full count. You've got Correa at second, DeFabi at first. And he hits that hard in the right center, tailing towards the outfielder, but it'll get past him and all the way to the wall. Shulafon getting it. That'll play Correa from second. DeFabi hustling around third. He'll get there. And Jake Bullard slides into third with a triple. His first as a Stetson Hatter. And it's the 2 RBI variety, too. Hatters 2, Maine nothing.
The catcher, number 34, Christian Preachen.
And that kind of hitting might see him be up in the order sooner rather than later. Christian Preachen will step in. Stetson's main catcher has usually been in the 8th or 9th spot in the order. Preachen entering today with a 138 batting average. 4 hits and 29 at-bats on the season. He is a guy who's got power, though. He can run into one and send it a long way. As Ryan Turin and Noah Lewis here will have a little chat on the mound. Nobody warming up yet for Maine in the pen. Maybe a little early for that, but there are some considerations that need to be made, of course. You're talking about 2 teams here that are fresh off weekend series and are playing less than 24 hours later. In Maine's case, they're coming off a doubleheader as Preachen swings through that one. Their Saturday game against North Dakota State was canceled due to weather, so they ended up playing 2 against the Bison in Winter Haven, both teams splitting the pair of games. Maine winning the first 7-0 in a 7-inning affair. Caleb Lees and Jordan Shulafon combining for the shutout. North Dakota State only with 4 hits in that game. Preachen fouls that one off the plate. And Stetson, of course, they've been putting up shutouts too. Holding FAMU to only 3 runs in their 3-game series over the weekend, the sweep of the Rattlers. And all 3 of those runs coming in the Sunday game. Stetson getting dominant pitching all weekend long. As that one's hit towards second. The throw home. Bullard ducked onto the tag and is in the score. 3-0 Stetson. There's a heads-up play right there. The ball hit right to Quinn McDaniel. Threw it to home in plenty of time. Ryan Turin had to reach up a little to get it, though, and as he applied the tag, he tried to go chest high on Bullard. Bullard ducked right under it and hit the plate with his hand. Absolutely should have been an out. Christian Preachen, of course, reaching on the play, so give him the fielder's choice, and he's got an RBI to his credit also. Hatters with the 3 spot here in the second inning. That's a trend lately for Steve Tripper's ball club. They've made a habit of jumping out in front. Got out to early leads against Florida A&M. In the last 2 games of the 3-game series, Friday night a bit of a different story. Stetson only scratching out 2 runs, but when you get a combined effort like you did from Nick Durgan and Austin Amaral, both of them combining for the 1-hit shutout, where they only allowed 1 walk and 15 Ks between them. Well, you can get away with scoring 2 runs when you get pitching like that. Banks Griffith now stepping in here, the number 9 hitter. He's also had a rough start to the season at the plate, 143 batting average. Check swing there, holds up. Griffith making his 9th start of the year at second base for the most part. Has seen time occasionally at third. Last year, he was mainly a third baseman for the Hatters. Hits that hard, but not terribly deep in the center. Charging is Jeff Mejia. He makes the grab. Will fake the throw to first as Prejic gets back safely.
For the center fielder, Cameron Hill.
And we're back to the top of the order here in Cam Hill. Cam Hill 0 for 1 today. Popped out to short in his first at-bat, and that one is smacked right into the little well area where Stetson keeps the tarp. Cam Hill, 345 batting average entering today. He is the only Hatter that has played and started every game. All in the same spot, too, center field, as that's high. Hill has also been the man at the top of the lineup card, more often than not. Prototypical leadoff hitter in many ways. That's in for the strike. Not a guy with a whole ton of power, but he certainly has a lot of gap power. 4 doubles tied for the team lead. 2 triples is the team lead. And that one hit into the gap. That will drop. Prejic rounding second. That's where he'll stay. And Cam Hill reaches for the first time today with that single. And that is Stetson's 3rd hit in this game.
Number 3, Camden Traficante.
And that brings up Camden Traficante, experiencing baseball in a new spot today. Well, at least at his time at Stetson, anyway. Batting second and at short. Andrew Estrella getting the day. Traficante walked in the first, tried to swipe second and got nailed. That's in for the strike. Lewis dropping the hook there. You've got Prejic at second, Cam Hill on first, and that one is hit into center. Mejia's there, he'll snag it, and that will do it. But Stetson gets 3 runs across here in the bottom of the second. Jacob Bullard with the 2 RBI triple to give the Hatters the lead. He would come in to score on a very brainy play at home, going under the tag of the catcher, Ryan Turin. Top 3 coming up. Stetson up 3. You're watching Hatter Vision.
Leading off the top of the third inning and batting ninth, right fielder, number 14, Jordan Schulfall.
9-1-2 here for Maine as they start the top of the third, trailing by 3. Hatters going for their 6th victory in a row in this rare Monday game here at Melching Field. Thanks for joining us via Hatter Vision on YouTube. I'm Assad Bendy on Sholafon, dropping the butt, barehanded by ball, throw to first is not in time.
Straight to the top of the order for the
Sholafon beating that out for Maine's 2nd hit of the game. Nice bunt attempt there. Really not an attempt, an actual bunt. As we mentioned, Sholafon from Florida, graduate from Parkland. Parkland is in the South Florida area, Broward County to be precise, which is a hotbed for high school baseball talent. Lots of schools from all across the country go to that part of Florida to get baseball players. Stetson no exception, of course. Jeff Mejia, the center fielder, steps in. Lays off the fastball there from Stagliano. Mejia, a senior from North Reading, Massachusetts, 5'10", 190. Stagliano set up on the third base side of the rubber, and Mejia fouls that away just to the left of our broadcast position. Maine entering this game with a 3-win, 9-loss record, including 1-5 on the road in true away games. Throw over to first. They have played a fair amount of neutral site games, not unusual, of course, for a Northeast team at this point in the season. 2 wins and 4 losses there. 2-4 so far in the month of March. Throw over to first again. So far this year from Maine, their 3 wins have come against 3 different teams. North Dakota State, the last one over the weekend. They've also beaten Penn State this year and George Washington. In for the strike. Count now 1-2 on Mejia. Of course, they've also lost twice to Penn State and twice to George Washington and twice to North Dakota State. And they were swept opening weekend by Louisiana State. That one hit opposite field between short and third, and it trickles through.
The designated hitter, Jeremiah Jenkins.
So Sholafon and Mejia opening up the top of the third here with back-to-back hits. As Jeremiah Jenkins will step in. Christian Pregent barking out some directions to his defense before settling back in. Jenkins, the DH in this contest, he is 1 for 1, had a single in the first. And that's in for a ball. Jenkins wears number 28, listed as an infielder on the roster. One of their taller guys from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Stagliano with the look at second. The 1-0 is popped up. Christian Pregent with the mask off, and that will go right off the roof here in the press box area at Melching, 1-1. Both teams with 3 hits, Stetson with 3 runs. That's the big difference. Jenkins swings at that one and fouls it just over the third base grandstands here. So now he's looking at a 1-2 count. He is batting .259 on the season with a double, 7 hits, 4 RBIs. slugging at over 400. That's a number that can improve nicely here with a hit and maybe put Maine on the board, run-wise. Backs off there. And that's a 2-2 count now. Some of the Hatter fans wanting Nathaniel Starr to ring him up. Crowd for a Monday afternoon game. A little bigger than I expected, actually, considering that this change was announced just less than 24 hours before game time. That's now a full count for Jenkins. And by my count, that is the first full count against Dominic Stagliano all afternoon. You've got Schulafond at second and Mejia at first. Long look at second from Stagliano. He'll step off. Stagliano didn't run into too many problems during his start against Sacred Heart, helping hold the Pioneers only a run, and actually that one run it wasn't even earned. The payoff hit down the line, and that's going to trickle into right field. Schulafond rounding second, he'll come in to score. Mejia being waved around by Nick Durba, and the head coach's move is good as he'll score, and Jeremiah Jenkins sliding foot first into third with a triple. So Stetson with the 2 RBI triple. Maine pays him back in kind. And the Hatters now lead by 1.
Now batting the second baseman, Quinn McDaniel.
And with no outs on the board here, it's Quinn McDaniel with an excellent opportunity to tie this game for Maine. Sophomore second baseman. Lets that one go by. Outside and low from Stagliano, 1-0. McDaniel's 0 for 1 in this game. He popped out to center in the first inning. Hatters appear ready to concede the run, and they most certainly will do that. McDaniel smoking it between short and third. Easy for Jenkins to trot on home, and we are now tied at 3.
Joe Bramante.
So Maine already putting up 3 runs in this top of the third without giving up an out. And Joe Bramante, Maine's big power threat, will step in. Batting .245 on the season. His 12 hits among the team leaders entering this game. Doesn't have a hit so far today, though. He lined out to left field to end the first inning. Romani looking at third base for the signs. Nick Durba, the Maine head coach, is parked off the third base side. Ryan McLaren, one of their assistants, does the same on the first base side. As Romani pops this up, real high, not real deep, though. Left center, Cam Hill's there. And we have our first out here in the top of the third.
Now batting the catcher, Ryan Turin.
Ryan Turin will step in. The senior, making his 9th start of the year. He's been in a platoon situation for much of the year behind the plate, sharing time with Colby Emmerts. Runner going. The throw's a ball. Now the throw to second is offline, though. And McDaniel with the stolen base. And that is the second stolen base of the year for Quinn McDaniel. And the 8th of the season so far for Maine. They're actually 8 for 9 in that particular stat. Averaging less than a stolen bag a game, actually. So they're not big runners. But that time, Quinn McDaniel taking advantage. And that one is hit hard by Ryan Turin. Foul, though. Wind in this game blowing out of the east at 12 miles an hour. with Melching Field's layout, essentially that means that the wind is going to be moving from left field towards right, so anything in the right is going to tail towards the foul line, like you saw right there. Stagliano looking at second, and the 1-1, time called, so that pitch won't count. Maine 3 runs on 5 hits, no errors. Stetson 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors. That's how we're at here. Top 3-1 out at Melching Field in this rare Monday afternoon game. Stagliano fires in for the strike. When Stetson plays in the midweek, they generally tend to do it either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, usually either Tuesday or Wednesday. They tend to avoid Thursdays if they can also. 1-2. And Stagliano misses high. Not a whole lot of action in the college baseball world on this Monday afternoon, though we do have a couple of games we're looking out for you on, including 3 in the top 25. 2-2. And Stagliano rings Turin up. Give Stags 3 Ks, all of the backward kind. And with 2 outs here, Scout Knotts will step in. But before that happens, Dave Thurno will take a trip from the dugout. Stetson's pitching coach. Talking a little strategy here with his ball club. This is definitely not a call to the pen, at least not yet. Although it should be noted that we do have one pitcher in the pen warming up for Stetson. That's Cooper Smith, the freshman out of Naples. Most of the pitchers for Stetson, though, are in the dugout still. And Thurno will walk back to the bench. Dave Thurno, of course, the one holdover from the Pete Dunn era here at Stetson. Was the last pitching coach that Pete Dunn hired before he retired. Steve Tripper kept Thurno on. A decision that I'm sure he is very happy about, as he'll tell people publicly. Thurno, of course, one of the biggest reasons why Stetson has had quality pitching year in and year out in his 7 years here, including the development of some very big arms, some of whom are now applying their trade at the pro level, including one at the show. Logan Gilbert, of course, with the Seattle Mariners. We'll be seeing him and the rest of the pro baseball world soon enough, now that their lockout is finally over and done with. Not to mention Brooks Wilson, of course, both members of that 2018 team that came within 2 games of Omaha. The 0-2 count, and that one hit Oppo Field, a little flare towards first, but Jake Bollard's there. And the Hatters are out of it. So, rough inning for Dominic Stagliano. He had a 3-run lead starting the inning, and he now doesn't have any lead. We are tied at 3. Stetson will try to get it back when we come back on Hatter Vision. 3, 4, and 5 here for the Hatters as we resume play. Stetson and Maine tied at 3. Lights coming on at Melching Field as Lewis fires in for the strike. DePonzio's 0 for 1. Popped out the right field in the first inning. DePonzio now tied for the top spot in the Stetson clubhouse in terms of stolen bags. Him and Cam Hill both sitting at 10. They're both actually perfect in swipes this year. 10 for 10. And that one is popped up. And that goes into the grandstand area and goes trickling into the chairbacks right near the main dugout. So the count now 1-2 for DePonzio. Sun taking a break here as the 1-2 is ripped foul by DePonzio. Goes all the way into the VFW parking lot just off the left field line. And DePonzio's down swinging.
The designated hitter, Juan Correa.
First K of the game for Noah Lewis. And with one out here, it's Juan Correa. The freshman from Weston, also in the South Florida area. Former All-Broward County player by the South Florida Sun Sentinel in high school. Another guy who split his time with 2 different high schools in the South Florida area. Played his senior year at West Broward, Cypress Bay the 2 years before that. And Correa lets that one go by for a strike. Correa, when he's been in the lineup, it's usually been either as the DH or in right. Let her high there, and that's strike 2 according to Nathaniel Starr. Though you were to look at the roster, you'll actually see that Correa is listed as an infielder. Lewis bounces that one in front of the plate. And he is, actually. His primary position is considered first base. But he's not played at first base all year. He's either been DH or in right. Right field being his secondary position, the 2-2. Hit towards short. Marquez is there. One Florida native to another. Correa's down, 2 outs here for Anthony DeFabio. Jake Marquez, another guy who's actually from the South Florida area. Miami, to be precise. Lewis firing in for the strike there on DeFabio, who was one of the 3 runs that come across for Stetson in the second. He was plunked and then eventually came in on Bullard's RBI triple all the way from first. Grounds that one past third base, foul. So DeFabio looking at a 1-2 here. As we near the hour mark in this contest, DeFabio down swinging. Noah Lewis pulling the string. Hatters retired in order. We go to the top of the 4th, tied at 3. You're watching Hatter Vision. 7, 8, 9 here for the Black Bears. As we are knotted at 3. Jake Reynes first pitch, hits it into center field. Cam Hill makes the grab for out number 1.
Shortstop, Jake Marquez.
1 pitch, 1 out. Dominic Stagliano looking for a quick 4th inning after he got into a little bit of trouble in the last inning. Looking at nearly 60 pitches right now in this contest. And that one hit Jake Marquez. Fastball that got away from Stagliano.
Right fielder Jordan Schulafon.
And that brings up Jordan Schulafond. One Florida guy to another here. As we mentioned, Marquez from Miami. Played his high school ball at a place that's plenty familiar to Stetson Hatter fans if you pay attention to the program. Fastball in for the strike there to Schulafond, 0-1. Marquez from Christopher Columbus High School, former Explorer. The Hatters with 3 Explorers currently, former Explorers I should say, on their roster. Throw over to first. All 3 of those being pitchers, actually. The Gonzalez brothers, Chris and Jonathan Jonathan Velasquez as well. Fastball hit, right to third. Ball snags it in the air. Throw to first to complete the double play. And the Hatters are out of it. 5-3 style for the first DP of this one. We head to the top of the 5th. We're tied at 3. You're watching Hatter Vision. My apologies, folks. I mistakenly said it would be the top of the 5th. It was actually the bottom of the 4th. We are tied at 3 here between Maine and Stetson. Kyle Ball, Jacob Bullard, Christian Pregent. 2 up here for the Hatters. Stetson looking for their 6th win in a row. And their 4th win in a row actually against Maine. Kyle Ball, first pitch, lines it right to Quinn McDaniel at second. So Jacob Bullard stepping in here. Dominic Stagliano got through the top of the 4th with only 4 pitches thrown. Of course, heading into a 5-3 double play certainly helped Stagliano's cause when Jordan Schulafon did that. Jake Bullard now looking at an 0-1 count. He's got the big hit in the game for Stetson. Now down 0-2 here. Bullard with an RBI triple in the second. It actually was a 2 RBI triple, played in Korea and DeFabia. Lewis bouncing that one. Lewis, by the way, now north of 60 pitches. No action yet in Maine's pen. Both pitchers, though, have thrown probably a little bit more than they would have wanted to at this point in the game. Bullard fouls that away. Both Lewis and Stagliano have had 1 inning that's given them trouble. In Lewis's case, the 2nd, bottom 2, and Stagliano's top 3. And And Lewis wanted a strikeout. He thought it was a strikeout. Nathaniel Starr says otherwise. 2-2. And now Bullard's down by K, swinging.
The catcher, Christian Friedgen.
So that's 3 Ks now for Noah Lewis in this game. And with 2 down, it's Christian Friedgen. He reached on a fielder's choice in the second. That fielder's choice, though, did drive in a run. Jacob Bullard coming home from third to score. It was a drawn-in infield when Preacher hit it right to the second baseman, Quinn McDaniel. Bullard broke for home, the throw in time, but Bullard did a heck of a job diving under the tag of Ryan Turin to plate Stetson's third run, and as it turns out, a pretty big one, because otherwise Maine would have the lead right now. 2-0, and Preacher hits that into right center. That's going to go shopping at the gap. Preacher rounding first. That one hits the wall. He'll coast into second with a double.
Now batting second baseman, Banks Griffith.
Stetson looking to grab the lead, 2-out style here. Lewis bouncing that one well in front of the plate. Griffith with just 4 hits on the season, 4 for 29 now. He popped out to center in the second inning. He does have 3 RBIs on the year, though. Actually, excuse me. Read the wrong one. He actually only has 1 RBI on the year. He's got a good shot for a second here, though. The 1-0. Let her high for the strike. Hatters in Maine tied at 3 here in this Monday afternoon game at Melching Field. If the schedule holds the rest of the way, this will be the only Monday game Stetson plays all year. The 1-1 is swung right through by Griffith, 1-2. This game originally scheduled for Wednesday, but because of expected rain in the area on Wednesday night, both teams deciding to change that date to today. They're still scheduled for tomorrow, 6:30 first pitch for now. The 1-2 is in the dirt. Turin coming out of his crouch to get it. 2-2 count now on Banks Griffith. There is an outside chance, though, that start time tomorrow could change and move up earlier because we are expecting rain tomorrow, too. So, if you want to know if that changes, follow Stetson Athletics on socials, Twitter, Stetson Baseball. And Griffith is down swinging.
At the bottom of the 4th inning, there were no runs on a
So
hit.
Noah Lewis
No errors,
with
left.
4 Ks in this game, all coming in the last 2 innings.
Remains tied.
As we head into the top of the 5th, we are tied at 3. You're watching Hatter Vision.
Image works.
cycling back to the top of the lineup here for Nick Durba and his Maine Black Bears. Jeff Mejia will step in. The senior from North Reading, Massachusetts. 5'10", 190 is how he stands. Stepping in on the left-handed batter's box. As Stagliano will start us off. High there, 1-0. Mejia, this is his third time at the plate today. He's 1 for 2. Singled in the third, came around the score. Off of Jeremiah Jenkins' RBI, 2 RBI triple. Also grounded out officially in the first on an attempted bunt. That was hit right to Stagliano. Hits that towards first. Bullard, he almost had it, but it popped out of the glove, took a bit of a unexpected bounce for him there, and Mejia will reach on what I imagine will be an error.
Designated hitter, Jeremiah Jenkins.
We're still waiting for the official ruling. While we get it, we'll let you know Jeremiah Jenkins is coming up. He's got 2 hits in this game, a single in the first, the 2 RBI triple in the third was the big one that got Maine on the board for the first time in this game. And the scorer's ruling that Mejia reached on a single, so give Mejia his second hit in this game. Maine now with 6 hits in this contest. Throw over to first from Stagliano. Mejia yet to attempt a stolen base this year. His 7 walks do lead the team. Also the only Maine Black Bear in the starting lineup today with a batting average over 300, 343 in his case, as that's fouled up and away. Oh, 0-2 to count now on Mejia. Excuse me, on Jenkins. My apologies. Mejia's at first, short lead for him. And Jenkins holds up there. Looks like a lot of the gray clouds are calling it quits right now. Plenty of sun shining here at Melching Field, although we are not too far away from sundown. Throw over to first. Shadows starting to creep in here. Weather today a little nicer than we've seen it the past few days at the ballpark. We've had temps in the 50s for much of the last 2 days, including during the games. Starting off this one at 72, we're going to dip into the mid-60s by the end of the night. Two and 2 count here on Jeremiah Jenkins. He's been making Stagliano work, and that's popped up and away. In each of his at-bats so far in this game, Jenkins has worked Stagliano to either a 2-2 count or to a full. He's now at 2-2 here. And that's fouled off Jenkins' foot. That caught the instep of his right foot. He's got some padding there, though, so I think it caught the padding. The 2-2. And Stagliano with the backwards K. All 4 of his strikeouts in this one have been looking.
And now the second baseman, Quinn McDaniel.
And now McDaniel will step in. Quinn McDaniel. Quinn McDaniel is 1 for 2 on the day. RBI single, last time up. Throw down to second. And Christian Pregent guns down Jeff Mejia. Nick Durba, the head coach for Maine, going to have a chat with Nathaniel Starr at home plate. He wasn't happy about something. Maybe arguing an interference call? There won't be much of an argument here. Looks like things have been resolved. Maybe not to Maine's liking, but resolved nonetheless. As Quinn McDaniel will step back in. That pitch to him was a ball, by the way. So 0-1 to count. And now Stagliano has a shot here to get another 1-2-3 inning. Not the usual way, of course, but still facing the minimum nonetheless. 2-0 the count now on McDaniel. And that's foul tipped by McDaniel. Stagliano nearing 70 pitches in this game. And he's already gone 4 2/3. I imagine we'll be seeing the great migration from the dugout to the pen soon for Stetson pitching. That's a bouncer going foul down the third base line. Hatters have already had some action in the pen in this game. Cooper Smith has been out there warming up. Two-two count here on McDaniel. And that's popped up. Foul territory near the third base line. It'll be Stagliano who gets it. Hey, you don't normally see the pitcher do that. But Stagliano did there. And now he's through 5 innings. We're still tied at 3. Bottom 5 coming up on Hatter Vision. Top of the lineup here for Stetson. Cam Hill, Camden Trafficante, Nick DePonzio. As the Hatters try to regain the lead, they had it briefly. 3 spot in the bottom of the second. Cam Hill, first pitch, strokes it into right field. That's going to almost get past Shulafon. Cam Hill's going to hustle the second, head first slide, he beats the throw.
The shortstop, Camden Trafficante.
So that leadoff hit. A good sign for Stetson. The only time they've had the leadoff batter get on in an inning was in the second when they played it all 3 runs so far. Juan Correa getting the single there. Cam Hill that time with the double. Stetson's second extra base hit in this contest. Actually, excuse me, third extra base hit in this contest. Preacher with a double last inning. Jake Bullard, of course, with the 2 RBI triple in the second that gave Stetson the lead. Camden Trafficante looking for his first hit in this game. Did walk in the first, caught stealing, and then popped out to center his last time up. Anything in the outfield, though, should get Cam Hill home if it drops. Lewis with the look at second. Fires, and that one is on the ground towards second. Quinn McDaniel will scoop, fires the first. Cam Hill gets the third on the play.
Left fielder, Nick DePonzio.
And now Nick DePonzio will step up here. Anything in the outfield here should score Cam Hill. Nick DePonzio actually does not have a sac fly this year. Does have 2 sac hits, however. First pitch to him is a ball. DePonzio's 0 for 2 today. Pop out to right in the first, Cade in the third. And swings through that one. Getting ahead of that off-speed offering from Noah Lewis. Infield drawn in here for Maine, and that's hit right towards second. The throw home is offline. Hill beats the throw, and Stetson has the lead. Nick DePonzio reaching on the fielder's choice RBI. It's 4-3 Hatters.
Designated hitter, Juan Correa.
And once again, second time in this game where the drawn-in infield works for Maine, but they're not able to get the out. They got the result they wanted, they just didn't execute quite the way they would have liked. Quinn McDaniel's throw to home was offline, anywhere close to the plate, and Cam Hill's probably nailed. But Stetson will take it. Juan Correa looking for his second hit in this game. He had his first in the second. Eventually came around to score. DePonzio taking off.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He'll take second.
Jimmy Don's freaky pass, stolen base of the game. Select fans who just won a free sandwich card courtesy of Jimmy Don.
So Nick DePonzio engaging in thievery. His 11 stolen bags in the year now leads the Hatters. He was tied for Cam Hill before that. Ryan Turin having to come out of the crouch to get that ball, and he's going to have a chat with Noah Lewis here. Doesn't look like we have any action in the main pen, at least not yet. Noah Lewis trying to recalibrate himself a little bit here. Running into trouble with Cam Hill coming around the score on the DePonzio RBI. And now DePonzio's dancing around second. Correa hits this hard in the right field. Shulafon tracking it, makes the grab. DePonzio will tag, though. He'll move to third. But that's a big second out there for Maine.
Now batting right fielder Anthony Fabia.
Now Anthony DeFabio will try to add to the Stetson lead here. Stetson again regaining the lead. Jumped out in front with a 3 spot in the second inning. Maine coming back a half inning later to tie it until this bottom of the 5th, where Stetson has now regained the slimmest of margins. Noah Lewis now nearing 90 pitches in this contest. Fires low. 3-0 count here for DeFabia. And that was as easy as it gets. 4-pitch walk. The second free pass for Noah Lewis in this game.
Third baseman.
And it's
Kyle Ball.
pretty obvious that Lewis is starting to run out of gas here. But as of right now, Maine is still going to stick with him as Kyle Ball steps in. And he hits first pitch right to the shortstop. Marquez is there. The throw across the diamond. And Bramante couldn't hold on to it. It fell out of the glove. DePonzio in the score. And it's 5-3 Stetson. So Kyle Ball reaching on what I imagine will be called an error, probably on Bramante for the ball popping out of his glove. Jake Bullard will step in here. We'll get you confirmation on the error. You could, I suppose, argue a throwing error on the shortstop too. First pitch to Bullard in for the strike. So it will be an error charged to Bramante. So Bullard will loop that past the shortstop into left field. DeFabia rounding third, he'll come in to score. Bullard will stay at third. Excuse me, Kyle Ball will stay at third as Jacob Bullard gets his third RBI of this game, and it is 6-3 Stetson.
Now the catcher, Christian Preacher.
Jacob Bullard, the very first pitch he sees, grabbing his second RBI hit of the day. And now Christian Preacher stepping in. He has reached twice in this game. Double in the fourth. Had an RBI in the second, reaching on a fielder's choice. First pitch swinging for him is fouled off. Trickles towards the Stetson on deck circle where Banks Griffith is waiting. Just past the 90-minute mark in this game. Stetson has put up another 3-spot. Maybe the chance for more with runners at the corners. Runner going from first. The throw towards second. And it slipped out of the grasp of the second baseman. Kyle Ball coming in to score. It is 7-3 Stetson. Hit and run call there. Bullard was caught up between first and second, but Quinn McDaniel, the second baseman, had trouble corralling that one. So Bullard eventually reaching second on what will be a stolen base. Kyle Ball credited with a stolen base as well as he comes home from third. So the double steal there for Stetson. So give Stetson now 3 steals in this game, and now, not officially because that actually happened before. That was hit hard in the right field. Preacher. This one is off the track and off against the wall. Bullard trots home. Christian Preacher with another double. And the Hatters just keep on adding to the lead. It's 8-3. So back-to-back doubles here for Preacher. Stetson now with 3 hits in this bottom of the 5th. And that is Scott Heath, the assistant coach for Maine, the pitching coach. coming out to have a chat with his battery here. What I was trying to say earlier was that Stetson now has more stolen bags this year than they did all last year. Entering the game with 35, which was tied with last year. They now have 38 as a team. Stetson has certainly ratcheted up the pressure on the bases this year. That's not exactly a new thing for Stetson, but it's not something we've seen a lot in recent years from Steve Trimper's ball club. Although, if you talk to Trimper enough times, he'll be happy to tell you that he loves swiping bags whenever he can. Some of that, of course, is a function of personnel. Stetson with quite a few guys who can run the bases well. Cam Hill and Nick DePonzio double digits already in stolen bags, but they have other guys too. Banks Griffith, the 9th batter to come up for Stetson in this inning. And Lewis fires high, 2-0. Some of those steals, of course, are hit and runs that don't work out the way that the coaches hoped for, like you saw with Jake Bullard there. Now with his 5th stolen bag of the year. Three-0 count here on Banks Griffith, the only Hatter yet to reach in this game. He's 0 for 2. Pop out the center in the 2nd, Cade in the 4th. That's the last strikeout for Noah Lewis, actually. And that's a walk.
And we return to the top of the lineup for the center fielder, Cameron Hill.
And that's 3 walks in this game for Noah Lewis, and it looks like that'll be his last. Lewis at almost 100 pitches right now. And I think that's going to do it. It is. New pitcher in the game for Maine. We'll let you know who it is when we come back. Hatters with 5 across here in the bottom of the 5th. 1 out on the board. 2 outs on the board. And they have the chance to add more with Cam Hill coming up here. You're watching Hatter Vision. Colton Carson will step in here for Noah Lewis with 2 outs on the board and 2 runners on board for Cam Hill. Hill got the party started in this inning with his double. First pitch came around to score on the Ponzio's RBI. It gave Stetson the lead. They've tacked on 4 more sits. That's a weak one towards third. Jake Reynes is there. The throw across the diamond gets Hill. The side's retired. But Stetson with 5 big runs here in the bottom of the 5th. Nick DePonzio's RBI gave him the lead. Jacob Bullard with an RBI hit. Christian Pregin as well.
We have played 5.
And we head to the top of the 6th with the score. Hatters 8, Maine 3. You're watching Hatter Vision. Maine's big power bat, Joe Bramonte, will lead us off. Brian Turin, Scout Nuts right behind him. As Dominic Stagliano comes back on to try to hold the lead. First pitch, Bramonte golfs it into left center. And Bramonte gets his first hit of the game.
Brian Turin.
And Maine once again forced to come back if they want to win this game as they trail by 5. Dave Thurno is coming out. He makes the motion to the pen. That'll do it for Stagliano. So a new pitcher coming in. It's a lefty. And it's Connor Smith. We'll tell you about him when we come back. Top 6, Hatters up by 5 over Maine. You're watching Hatter Vision. First pitch here to Ryan Turin is in for the strike, and we'll be introducing someone with me on air here momentarily as Cooper Smith steps in. That pitch hit towards second, backhanded by Griffith, the second for one to first. Double play! 4-6-3. And Cooper Smith getting the pitcher's best friend there with 2 outs on the board. That'll bring up Scout Knotts, and just as good a time for me here to welcome in Jim Churchill with the Black Bear Sports Radio Network, 92.9 FM in Bangor. Thank you for joining us, sir.
It's good to be with you, Masad. Here in town, I think this is my 5th or 6th trip here to Melching Field over the years.
Scout Knotts swinging that one away, foul, 0-1 the count. Definitely will love to pick your brain here, Jim, about Maine as a team. This is my first look at them, but of course you've been following them all year, so.
Well, that's not quite true. I'm kind of joining the Black Bears here on this trip, actually.
Okay. That one's in the dirt for a ball. Knotts in this game is 0 for 2. Backwards K in the second, popped out to first to end the third inning. And Cooper Smith fires that one high. 3-1 the count.
But I have been following the Black Bears for a long time.
Yeah.
Since I was a young lad and 23 years as the Black Bear broadcaster.
That's a popper into right field. This one might drop. On the run is DeFabia. He makes the grab. And the side is retired. So that'll do it here in the top of the 6th. Hatters get away without giving up any runs despite the leadoff single from Bramonti. We head to the bottom of the 6th with the score. Hatters 8, Maine 3. You're watching Hatter Vision.
Camden Traffic
The good, the bad, and the ugly leading us back here. Camden Traficante's walk-up song. Been much more good than bad and ugly for Stetson in this one. 8-3 lead over Maine. Thanks for joining us via Hatter Vision on YouTube. I'm Assad Bendian. Charlie Franklin, the real star of the show. He's keeping that lens clean for all of you. Carson's pitch in for the strike. Also joined by Jim Churchill with the Black Bear Sports Radio Network. I've got to ask you a little bit, Jim, about Steve Trimper, which, of course, you know.
Got to know him over
Oh, yeah.
11 years.
Absolutely. Yes. Trimper, of course, the head coach for the Maine baseball team prior to taking the job here at Stetson, replacing Pete Dunn. 0-2 count here on Traficante. Still looking for his first hit in the day. Carson fires, fastball high, 1-2 to count. So what was it like working with Tripp up there?
Oh, we had a great time. Obviously, got off to a great start his first season. The Black Bears winning the conference and going to a regional down in North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And, yeah, I mean, Trimp was a bit of an institution there for 11 years, replaced longtime coach Paul Kostakopoulos. Had another regional appearance, also at North Carolina in 2011.
Full count now on Traficante. And Trimper, in his own way, got to a hot kind of a similar situation here at Stetson, actually, replacing a legendary guy in Pete Dunn, second year here. They win 48 games, host a regional, win that regional. And Camden Traficante draws the full count walk. That is the fourth issue by Maine pitching.
Yeah, it was fun to follow that run by Trimp and the Hatters.
Really, Stetson has been trying to reach that level ever since, although that 2018 team in a lot of ways was kind of lightning in a bottle. I've covered college baseball a fair amount in my years, and I have never, ever covered a pitching staff that good at this level. I mean, that was a pitching staff that was ridiculous. I think all year long they had a team ERA under 2.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Bunt attempt there from DePonzio, scooped up by Carson. He'll tag DePonzio before getting to the bag at first. So Nick dropping the bunt, moving the runner, and with 2 outs in scoring position for Juan Correa. How much small ball did Tripper love to do when he was in Maine? Was that a thing with him? Because he does it a fair amount here.
Yeah, well, it depended upon the time of year, especially in the home games. Early home games at Maine, you're playing in maybe high 30s, but definitely 40s and 50s, and the wind would be blowing in from right or center field, and you had to play a little more small ball.
Correa lets that one in for the strike.
As things warmed up, Black Bears had some power over the years, and you could change things up a little bit.
Yeah. And one thing I should mention as well, since he's no longer on the team, but he had such a huge impact for Stetson in his only year here. As Correa fouls us off. You read my mind, sir.
Yeah.
Hernan Sardinius, that guy was a real revelation. He was a large part of Stetson's offense last year, and I know he was very good for Maine as well.
Yeah, he put up some tremendous numbers here. We could have used him. Could have used him last year, but good to see Hernan have success here in his home state.
0-2 count, and Correa lays that one off. How cold was it when you guys left for Florida?
We've had temperatures in the 40s recently.
That's actually pretty warm for this time of year.
Not bad at all. Relatively speaking, it felt good, but 60s and 70s feels just a little bit better.
For sure. I can imagine. Correa swings through that one. They'll throw to first to complete the strikeout. Correa, I think, a little bit late in realizing that Turin didn't have the ball in the glove. With 2 outs, and here comes Anthony DeFabio. So how long have y'all been in Florida?
Let's see. The Black Bears came down on Friday and played North Dakota State over in Winter Haven. Lost their first game 9-4. The Saturday game was washed out. That resulted in a doubleheader on Sunday. The Black Bears won the first game 7-0 and dropped the second game yesterday 4-2.
So DeFabio in this game, he has reached twice, still looking for his first hit, though. Plunked in the second, struck out in the third, walked in the fifth. He came around to score in the second and in the fifth as the Hatters are now nursing a 5-run lead here in the bottom of the sixth.
It's one thing that has changed a lot over the years for Maine baseball. They used to have a 2-week break in the spring, and the Black Bears would come down here to Florida basically for 16 or 17 days and traverse the state, playing a lot of games.
That pitch is low, 2-0. That's something a lot of northern teams do this time of year. I mean, obviously, playing baseball up north in February, March is not the most pleasant experience in the world.
Yeah, more recently, the Black Bears have had a shorter trip here to Florida because they only take a 1-week break in the spring and play a lot of 3-game series.
That one gets away, and Traficante will move up there on what will almost certainly be a wild pitch.
Yeah, and a bit of a microcosm over the last couple of innings here for the Black Bears. You got one team that is executing on the base pass and defensively, and another team that is not. And unfortunately for Maine fans, that team would be the Maine Black Bears, and they find themselves down here by 5 runs.
Having said that, though, I mean, I imagine there must be a bit of difficulty that's in for the strike for Maine to get the same kinds of practice time that a team like Stetson can. Obviously, when you play in near perfect baseball weather all year round, it makes a difference versus playing in a climate where maybe, 6-7 months out of the year you can really play?
Yeah, and it's obviously more difficult.
That one hit hard in the left field. More left center, actually. Mejia's there. He'll snag it, and that will retire the side. So we're through 6 here at Melching. Hatters up 5. Top of the 7th. Coming up, you're watching Hatter Vision. top of the 7th. Maine bringing up the bottom of the order. Jake Reynes, Jake Marquez, Jordan Schulafond. Reynes is 0 for 2 on the day. Backward K in the 2nd. Pop out the center in the 4th. And he's now looking at an 0-1 count here from Cooper Smith, who comes in relief. Dominic Stagliano in line for the win. His final line, 5 innings pitched. 7 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned. 1 walk on 4 Ks. Fairly decent start for Stagliano. That one is fouled away sharply towards the Maine dugout. Some of the Black Bears having to duck out of the way of that one. 1-2 the count.
Just to finish my answer,
go ahead,
Masad, on your question about transitioning from inside a dome to playing baseball outside, and it is a big leap. And the Black Bears jumped right into the fire this year, traveling to LSU. A little easier for the pitchers, more difficult for the hitters, and obviously from the defensive side of the ball.
Yep, that one's fouled away, 2-2 to count. I mean, realistically, you play inside an indoor facility. You can't practice pop-ups properly. It's practically impossible.
No, pop-ups. Black Bears had issues throwing the baseball early in this season at LSU. Most of their defensive problems, but yes, pop-ups. I remember
that's a strike out there for Cooper Smith.
Sorry, Masad. I remember a series at Florida State. Played a couple of series at Florida State, and Black Bears had issues with those pop-ups.
So Jake Marquez will step in here, one of the 3 Sunshine State natives on this Maine roster, in his case from South Florida, former Columbus Explorer, as that's at the feet. 1-0 the count. That's a high school that, by the way, Jim, there's kind of a pipeline there between Stetson and Columbus. They have 3 former Explorers on their roster.
Yeah, that was something that got started when Steve Trimper was at Maine, because Black Bear baseball has also had a pipeline to Christopher Columbus High School.
One of the better high school programs in the South Florida area. That's in for the strike. And Marquez has been pretty much a starter for you guys since day one, right, if my memory serves?
Yes, yep. Sophomore this year.
That one's fouled away.
Pretty solid defensively. Has struggled at the plate in his time as a Maine Black Bear. Came up with some big hits late last season.
And having to learn how to play baseball in the cold, or at least practice in the cold, that's not always the easiest for a guy from South Florida.
Right.
As that one is looped into the Maine pen foul, 2-2 to count still. And actually, Hernan as well was from Columbus, if my memory serves.
Yep.
That's not always the easiest thing for a baseball coach in the Northeast to do, recruit Florida ties. And that one is hit hard in the left field. DePonzio backing up near the track, makes the grab. And with 2 down, another guy from Florida coming up here, Jordan Schulafond, in his case, from the Parkland area, which is in Broward County. And he's a new guy to the team, I believe, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah, first year. I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship with the head coach at Christopher Columbus High School. Getting that relationship built. And
yeah, there's definitely a lot of competition for Columbus players. Lots of schools recruit that particular high school. It's, there's a fair amount of private schools in the South Florida area that really do baseball well, Columbus being just one of many. But Columbus is usually one that does it better than most of them, at least every year. They're usually up in the state rankings more often than not.
And sometimes if a young player may have an opportunity to go to a bigger school, bigger program, but maybe not play as much.
The 1-1 popped up in foul territory. Kyle Ball snags it in the air, and I'm sure Jordan Schulafond would love to have that attempt back. So we are done here in the top of the 7th. Time to stretch at Melching. Bleacher Creatures will take us away. Hatters up by 5. You're watching Hatter Vision. Bottom of the 7th. Stetson 8 runs on 7 hits, no errors. Maine 3-7-1. Hatters looking for their 6th win in a row. Their 11th overall in the season. Kyle Ball holds up there on the offering from Colton Carlson. 1-0 the count. Thank you for joining us here on Hatter Vision via YouTube. I'm Assad Bendian, Charlie Franklin behind the lens. Jim Churchill joining us today for the Black Bears Sports Radio Network, 92.9 FM in Bangor. You guys will be calling the game tomorrow between Stetson and Maine, I believe.
Yes. The 6 o'clock pregame show, we hope.
Yeah, let's hope for that.
We're talking about some weather.
Yeah, there's a good possibility that may get moved up due to rain. Like today's game got moved up because of inclement weather. Stetson, of course, doesn't make it a habit to play on Mondays. They've actually not scheduled a Monday game in a very long time. But, you know, sometimes, like that old saying, right? Sometimes it wins. Sometimes it was that old saying about baseball. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains.
Right.
We're trying to avoid the rain part this weekend. Not always easy to do in Florida. The 1-1 here, and Kyle Ball rocking back on his heels from that one. 2-1 the count.
Of course, Nick Derber, the coach for the Black Bears, played for Steve Trimper at Manhattan, and Nick was an assistant coach, became the interim coach, then eventually got the job full-time at Maine.
Fastball down the middle there, but not to Nathaniel Starr's liking. 3-1 the count. Manhattan's current coach as well, a former assistant with Steve Trimper. He seems to have a habit of doing that, leaving his assistants behind to take over. That's a strike. Full count here for Kyle Ball. And, of course, Steve Trimper, most of the assistants at Stetson of his choosing. The only holdover from Pete Dunn is Dave Thurno. And that hit ball. He's plunked. And he'll move his way towards first base with Jacob Bullard stepping in. We were talking a little bit about that 2018 team for Stetson, Jim. Kyle Ball is actually one of the 2 holdovers from that team that's still on the roster. Chris Gonzalez, speaking of former Columbus Explorers, being the other. Jacob Bullard steps in. He's got the big hit in the game for Stetson, that 2 RBI triple in the second. He also has an RBI single in the 5th. And now looking at a 1-0 count. So what are you expecting out of Maine this year? I know it's kind of hard to tell with the way that the season started, but it's always the easiest for a Northeast team to get off to hot starts just because of the way of the nature of the game, you know?
Yeah, and we'll find out more beginning on Friday when they play their first conference game. Obviously, that's what it's all about. You don't get any at-large bids from the America East Conference, so you're looking to win the conference. I mean, on paper, they should be competitive. It all starts in the middle of the diamond on the pitcher's mound, and got to find some consistency there, playing in those 3-game weekends. And
got to find a replacement for Sinicola, too. I mean,
yeah,
that's a big loss.
Oh, no doubt about it. Nick Sinicola.
Taking a look at his numbers, I never actually saw him pitch, but that strikeout number is insane to me.
Yeah, no matter who you're playing, nobody.
I mean,
obviously, he set the conference record, so nobody had done it before in the America East Conference.
And just to kind of make it, just so everybody knows what we're talking about here, he had 139 strikeouts and 79 in the 3rd innings pitch. I mean, that's almost a 2-to-1 ratio.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's fun to watch.
I'll bet. The 3-0 in for the strike. I can tell you at Stetson, the closest I've seen to that was probably Logan Gilbert, and Logan wasn't anywhere near that good in terms of ratio anyway. Of course, different level of competition in a lot of ways, too. That should be noted. Ball going on the throw, and he is... No, that's going to be ball 4. Never mind. So that's not going to matter. I think ball was out, but it won't matter. with Bullard drawing the 3-1 walk, and now here comes Christian Pregin, and he's had a productive day for sure.
At this time, this will be your final call for
He's had back-to-back doubles in the 4th and in the 5th. The last one in the 5th was an RBI. Also had an RBI, reaching on a fielder's choice in the 2nd. So I guess where do you go with Maine replacing a guy like Sinicola? And also should mention Alex McKenney. He was a pretty productive pitcher for the Black Bears too last year.
Yeah, he was a lockdown starter for the Black Bears late in the season. A tough loss in the Mericky's playoffs at Stony Brook last year. Alex signing on with the Philadelphia Phillies. So 2 big voids to fill. Black Bears have gone the portal route, grad student route.
Yeah,
Only
quite
a
a few
couple
grad
spots.
students on this roster. I think 5 total or something like that. Yeah, 5 total, including 3 transfers, Shulafon being one of them. And I imagine the starting pitching is really going to be what needs to be figured out at this point, right? Although you seems to have found some answers early on anyway with Irwin and Lees.
Yep. Yeah, Trevor Labonte, another grad student who is from the state of Maine, went to Maryland, returning to his home state. Suffered the loss yesterday.
2-1 count here for Pregent. Carson delivers, and that is a ball on the inside. 3-1 the count. Colton Carlson, a sophomore, 6'6", 225 from Oxford Hills, Maine. Not too familiar with Maine, Jim. Where's Oxford Hills?
Oxford Hills is in western Maine. A place called South Paris. Includes probably about 7, 8, 9 communities. Go to Oxford Hills High School. Had some good baseball players there.
And with the walk there from Pregent, that brings up Banks Griffith, getting the start for Stetson at second base today. Although we've not seen Banks as a starter in a little bit. Got the start at second to begin the season, but he's been kind of supplanted a bit by Camden Traficante. Traficante, of course, now at short today with Andrew Estrella taking the day. Griffith with a chance here to stretch the lead, and it looks like he'll do that. That one hit softly towards second. The throw to first in time with Carson covering the bag. But that will score Kyle Ball from third, and Stetson is now holding a 6-run lead. It's 9-3.
Yeah, once again, great execution at the plate. Situation baseball, and the Hatters picking up another run.
Stetson seems to have kind of found their groove offensively. Although it's helped, of course, playing schools like Sacred Heart and Florida A&M. I mean, Stetson had, a fairly tough start to the season when you're playing a couple of top 15 programs in Notre Dame and Florida.
Right, yeah. I was
both here at Melching.
Had a chance to talk with Steve Trimper a little bit before today's game, and he was talking about the midweeks and how they had some RPI opportunities and came up a little bit short in those. And
that's always something with Coach Trimp. He loves emphasizing those midweek RPI games, and in reality, there's some truth to that, because if you look at that 2018 team that Stetson had, one of the biggest reasons they got to host the regional was because they were winning a lot of those midweek games.
Right.
And those are real big RPI boosters for a program like Stetson.
And he explained the setup in the postseason in the conference, and RPI plays a key role.
Oh, absolutely it does. Looks like Colton Carson's day is at an end. And we're going to see, it looks like a righty on the mound here as Nick Durba goes to the pen here for a new pitch. And actually, excuse me, that's a lefty. I didn't get a number, though. I have to say, I kind of like Maine's road uniforms. Very classic look. That is number 16,
Caviglia.
Nick Caviglia, redshirt junior, 6'190" from Fresno, California. This Maine roster, a lot of times Northeast schools, they tend to stick within the region, but Maine has a lot of players from different areas.
Yeah, that's always been the case over the years. Now, I will say Paul Kostakopoulos, who coached up through 2005, he would recruit more from the Northeast. And, of course, college baseball has changed dramatically over the years. And Trimp kind of opened up that pipeline to Florida. Just looking back to the 2018 Black Bears team, Danny Casals, who was their starting third baseman, also from Columbus High School. Nick Silva, nephew of Alex Rodriguez, pitcher for the Black Bears for 4 years out of Columbus High School. So they've had a pipeline there, and again, I think it's a lot about just relationships with high school coaches and travel teams and whatnot. Players getting directed to Maine, maybe with a hole there and a chance to play.
Yeah, and I think that's really kind of the draw a lot of times for kids in states like Florida and California come to a place like Maine, and maybe the path to a starting job is a little simpler, shall we say. Maybe not necessarily easier, but simpler.
And Maine has always been aggressive in travel, like non-conference games coming here to Florida, as I mentioned earlier, but playing programs like LSU, and that helps recruit players. Field turf in the Northeast has been a saving grace at Mahaney Diamond.
Maine will draw the infield in here as Cam Hill swings right through that breaking pitch from Nick Caviglia, 0-1 the count. What can you tell me about Caviglia?
Well, he's had some moments, but inconsistency with a lot of these Maine pitchers, staying in the strike zone, getting ahead of hitters, leaving pitches up in the zone.
Nice hook there, though, from him, 0-2.
Yeah, almost perfectly placed on that bender.
Cam Hill has had 2 hits in this game, singled in the second, doubled in the fifth. The former Kentucky Wildcat has certainly been a massive get for Stetson this early part of the season. Nicely filling in for Andrew McNeil after his departure. Really the 2 big holes in this Stetson offense from last year. We mentioned Hernan, of course, Andrew McNeil the other. Andrew, a terrific table setter, and Hernan just massive in the middle of the lineup.
Put up some big numbers.
The 1-2 is in the dirt. 2-2 to count. Although I have to say, it looks like you guys got a fairly decent first baseman with a big amount of pop in Bramani.
Yeah, Joe, I was joking with Joe yesterday that he's been around 23 years. Obviously, there's no way he can catch me, but he's been around the program for 5 years now. So.
That's a pop-up in the infield. Reynes, the third baseman, snags it. 1 out on the board. A nice out there from Caviglia, considering the situation with runners at second and third. That brings up Camden Traficante.
Yeah, I think Coach Derb is looking for some of his second-year players to take that next step and kind of speed up the progress a little bit. And obviously, the roster littered with first-year players as well. It's going to be guys like Bramante and Scout Knotts. Expected to do a lot.
First pitch, the Traficante fouls that off the end of the bat, 0-1. I'd be kind of curious, Jim, to get your thoughts or your view on how the program dealt with COVID. Because it seems like every school's kind of dealt with it a little differently. And I know in the Northeast in particular, it really limited travel opportunities. I know many Northeast schools, if they weren't playing at all, they basically were stuck playing in the Northeast in conference schedules mostly.
Yeah, and obviously it's a little different, in the Northeast with COVID because you're in the wintertime especially. You're spending a lot of time inside. I remember vividly in the spring of 2020, which seems like yesterday. It also seems like 10 years ago. But
right.
I was getting set to head to the airport. The Black Bears were on a bus to Baltimore. And I got a call saying the trip is off. The Black Bears turned the bus around, and obviously I had to cancel my flight.
I was actually in this very room when I found out Stetson season was done that year.
Yep.
We were getting ready to play, I believe it was Fairfield.
Mm-hmm.
And got told before the game this was going to be the final game of the year, and I was like, no, it's not.
Right.
Are you serious?
They were.
And it was.
Yes.
That's actually how it went down. But, yeah, I mean, it was very hard to believe. And it was really kind of like that throughout college baseball as Traficante fouls that off.
Yeah, I think Maine got 13 games in that season before it came to an abrupt end.
And I imagine at no point during that year did Maine play at home. So, in
No.
reality, it was probably, 2 years between one home game to the next?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yep.
The 2-2. And Traficante, that's a K, but they got to throw to first to complete the strikeout, and Turin does that. So Stetson is retired here in the bottom of the seventh, but one more run comes across. Kyle Ball scoring on an RBI grounder from Banks Griffith. 6 outs left to go for Maine if they want to erase a 6-run deficit. You're watching Hatter Vision.
Leading off the top of the eighth.
Top of the eighth here. Stetson 9, Maine 3. Jeff Mejia stepping back into one of my favorite Queen songs of all time.
I can tell, Masad, you were getting into that one.
Yeah, I love me some Queen. And I'll admit, Fat Bottom Girl is definitely one of my favorites of all time. The song, the song. Jeff Mejia stepping in with 2 singles on the day. That's in for the strike.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, 1 ball, 1 strike the count here. As Cooper Smith, the lefty, fires in. And that is outside, 2-1 the count.
It's funny seeing Steve Trimper before the game. As I was walking up to him, he said, "No interviews, no interviews." Probably did over 450 interviews over the years.
I was going to say, I usually talk to Coach Trimp prior to every game. If there's one thing about him, he's definitely willing to talk to people.
Oh, yeah.
Not always the case in college baseball. There's definitely lots of coaches who aren't fans of that stuff. Coach Trimper, more than willing.
Some gruff ones out there.
The 2-2. That one chopped towards short. Charged by Traficante. Throw to first in time. And that is 1 out here in the top of the 8th. And Jeremiah Jenkins will step in. And he's been a big part of the offense for Maine in this one. Big guy, too. I actually don't know his height because it isn't listed on the roster, but I'm going to guess probably somewhere around 6'4", 6'5" range.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
He's got 2 hits on the day. Single in the first, RBI triple in the third. That's plated 2.
It's been a bright spot as a freshman for the Black Bears, showing some middle-of-the-order promise.
His whole style, like the way he kind of goes in there, he reminds me of a guy that Stetson has, actually, Brandon Hilton. Very similar. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Masad. I was very impressed with him yesterday at a game against North Dakota State.
That one hit hard in the left field. DePonzio not going to have to go too far to get this. Ranging towards the line to make the grab, 2 outs.
Playing at Chain of Lakes Park over in Winter Haven. He pulled an inside pitch. It had home run distance well over the batting cage and deep in the right field corner there at Chain of Lakes Park. It was either on the next pitch or 2 pitches after that long foul ball. He laced one into left center field. So always good to see from a young hitter.
Quinn McDaniel with 2 outs stepping in here. RBI single in the third, swipe the bag as well. That's the only time he's reached, though. He's had 2 poppers beyond that. As you might expect for a rare Monday afternoon game here at Belching, the facility not very packed as Cooper Smith fires high there. Of course, we're not too far away from where Stetson football plays their home games. Just past left field, you'll see Spec Martin Stadium, which many of you have probably seen, even though you don't realize it. And that one's fouled away 1 and 2. You a fan of Adam Sandler, Jim?
Oh, yes, yes.
That is where the
Waterboy.
The Waterboy,
yeah.
Exactly. That is where they aired some of the football scenes from the Waterboy.
Yep.
That one bounced towards the hole at short. Traficante, jump throw to first is not in time. Give Traff the A for effort, but that's a tough play for any shortstop, no matter what level. And that is a hit for Quinn McDaniel.
Yeah, all this momentum heading towards that third base line, trying to pull a Derek Jeter there, but well placed by McDaniel. He picks up the infield hit.
So Joe Bramonte steps in. Maine has a team with 8 homers on the year. This guy has 50% of them. And he looks like a power hitter too, man. He's got a huge presence at the plate.
Yeah, it's tough to hit one out of this park.
That it is. Not the easiest, for sure. That one curving low, 1-0 the count. Melching Field, a fairly big park. You've got 335 down the lines, 375 in the gaps, 403 to dead center. But this park plays bigger than the numbers, if you could believe that. It actually does.
Because those are about the same dimension. They're almost exactly the same dimensions at Mahaney Diamond.
Oh, really?
And at the University of Maine. It's 330 down the lines, 375 to the gaps, and 400 to straightaway center field.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons why it plays big is because of the weather conditions here. The 2-0 is fouled up and away. And more specifically, I mean the wind. The wind in this ballpark tends to swirl. no matter what direction it's coming from. So a lot of times you'll see balls hang up the higher they get in the field here. When Melching acts as a home run park, it's generally when the wind is blowing south.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's pretty hard to pull one as a left-handed hitter unless the wind is working for you. Right-handed, it's almost as hard as Bramani flies out to Cam Hill there, and that will do it here in the top of the 8th. Hats will try to add on to the lead one more time before the top of the 9th. Stetson in command, 9-3. Bottom 8 coming up on Hatter Vision. Bottom 8 here, Stetson will attempt to add to their 6-run lead before shutting out Maine in the top of the 9th, or at least that's the plan. Caviglia delivers. Breaking pitch in to Nick DePonzio, 1-0. DePonzio, the former Wake Forest Demon Deacon. Still looking for his first hit on the day, although he does lead Stetson in batting average on the season. Swings through that one. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. The only time he's reached today, fielder's choice in the 5th, which drove in a run. Eventually came around to score after swiping a bag. He now has 11 stolen bases on the season, which is, of course, the number on his jersey. Hits that up the middle, and there's his first hit of the game. Stroking it right up the middle for Stetson's 8th hit of this contest. And when Stetson's offense is working right, that's what the coaches want to see. A lot of balls hit up the gut. Juan Correa will step in here, and that looks like Nick Durba going out to make a pitching change here, Jim.
Yes, indeed. Making the call to the bullpen.
I imagine the options are a bit limited coming off of a weekend, and especially in particular coming off of a doubleheader, right?
Yeah, I think this is Sebastian Holtz, a freshman from Connecticut, who's listed as a utility player and a pitcher.
I think you only have two two-way guys, right? Him and Shulafon, I believe, is it?
Yep.
Okay. So, yep, that is Sebastian Holt from Woodbridge, Connecticut.
Your attention, please. Defensive change for Maine now.
He'll get to warm up a little bit here as Maine is down 6 runs here, trying to, keep Stetson at bay here. And I imagine some of this is also Coach Durbo wanting to see a little bit more work from some of his guys a little deeper down in the pen order, right?
Yeah, and he's also looking ahead to this weekend at Binghamton. Start of the conference schedule. Again, that's the priority, and critical for the Black Bears to get off to a good start against one of their conference rivals. So kind of planning ahead a little bit, too.
And a conference rival that's spending a whole bunch of money, too.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you off air that for Northeast facilities, University of Maine has some of the best, but in recent years, Binghamton has pulled ahead of the Black Bears. They've got a donor. I think it's an anonymous donor, but he or she, or them, or they are piling a bunch of money into that Binghamton baseball field. Tens of millions of dollars.
That's interesting that it's an anonymous donor. A lot of times they usually want to be out there.
Right, I believe it is. Yeah, we're talking 30, 40 million dollars.
Right, and that's really very unusual that it's anonymous, because in my experience, when people drop that kind of cash, they usually want to know. Right. They want people to know who's dropping that kind of cash.
Clearly, they have a lot of it. They don't need their name on things. But yeah, so that's obviously they play in Western New York. They have tough weather there as well, but great facilities. And Tim Sinicki, the head coach there, certainly helps in his recruiting.
Juan Correa, the DH, will step in here. One hit on the day for him. That came in the second. Scored a run as Sebastian Holt delivers in. 0-1 the count. Holt making, I believe this is a debut for him on the mound, correct?
I think you are correct.
Yeah, I don't see him on the stat sheet. And that one is fouled up and away.
Big guy.
Yeah, actually, this is a season debut for him. He's not been on the field all year. Set up on the first base side of the rubber. DePonzio stretching out the lead at first. 0-2, and Correa holds up. 1-2 the count. Juan Correa trying to stake himself as Stetson's DH. It's been kind of a rotating crew for the Hatters to begin the season at that spot. Correa, Daniel Labrador, Trey Harmon. Although Correa seems to have the upper hand lately. DePonzio's going. That's in for a ball. The throw to second.
Oh.
In time? Yes. And for the first time all year, Nick DePonzio is caught swiping a bag.
And it took a perfect throw from Ryan Turen right on the bag. Quinn McDaniel covering at second base. Caught the baseball right in front of the second base bag, and DePonzio basically sliding into that tag.
That was an excellent throw from Turen, actually. One out on the board here, as Correa will lay off that one, now looking at a full count. Pretty decent throw from Turen considering the circumstances. I think he was on his knees when he made that throw. And that's ball 4. So Correa draws the full count walk. That's now 7 in this game for the Maine pitchers, and that brings up Anthony DeFabia. Stetson, of course, a very Florida-heavy squad, but thanks to Coach Trimper, there is a bit of Northeast flavor on this team. Anthony DeFabia, one of those guys from Bronxville, New York. Baseball's in the blood in his family, Jim. His dad and uncle, both very good players at Fairleigh Dickinson. Actually made the all-decade team in the 90s. Both of them. First pitch, DeFabia grounds it towards second. The flip, the second for one. The shortstop won't make the turn. Marquez holds on to the ball, but he didn't really need to because that's the final out in the inning. I think they're going to. I think they're calling runners interference there. Okay, that's the call there. So Stetson is retired here. Bottom of the 8 is over and done with. Maine has 3 outs to make up 6 runs, or Stetson's got their 11th win of the year. Top 9 when we come back. You're watching Havervision. Errol Smith's back in the saddle, leading us in here to the top of the ninth. And when you hear that this year, that can only mean Tanner Martin. For my money, I think probably my favorite walk-up song so far this year for Stetson. First pitch swinging to Ryan Turin has popped up, foul territory. Ball running, DePonzio 2. That'll get deposited into the main pen there. 0-1 the count. I know it's still early in the year and you all haven't done any home games, but are any good walk-up songs for this Maine team? Yeah. That's very true, they do. That's a fastball in from Tanner Martin, 1-1. As you can see, Martin, a hard-throwing righty. Probably one of the harder throwers on this Hatters roster. He can hit mid-90s. 1-1 count. And Turin backs off there. That's in for the strike, 1-2. Martin making his 6th appearance on the season. That leads all Hatters out of the pen. Junior college guy that Stetson would love to see kind of take over the closer role, although it's going to be kind of a toss-up, I think, between him and Rashesh Pandya, the former Clemson Tiger. 2-2 here, and that one is in the dirt, full count. How's this Maine team with hitting heavy fastballs? Because Tanner Martin certainly has one. Oh, Turin proved you wrong there, sir. Nice turn on that fastball. And that's the first hit here for Maine in the top of the ninth.
Now batting the left fielder, Scout Knotts.
Where were you guys playing in Winter Haven, actually? Okay. Andrew? Yes, I remember that. That one is hit into left field. Nick DePonzio makes the grab. One out here. And that'll bring up Jake Reyes. Being from South Florida, and well, I was 12 years old when Andrew hit. And also, I got my my sports broadcasting career, if you want to call it that, started as a student at FIU. And FIU actually played a lot of games at Homestead, especially that one year when they were renovating University Park. So that is a facility I am familiar with. There's actually a very interesting history with that ballpark. They were hoping that that ballpark would eventually draw a fairly large team. There was a lot of grandiose designs for that place, and it never really came to be. In the end, it kind of ended up becoming a white whale of sorts. You know, just if you ever see those stories of old Olympic facilities that they're built for the Olympics, and then 3 years later, they're like covered in mold with hawks building nests everywhere. That's kind of what it ended up becoming. All stories from Homestead are interesting. The 1-1 in for the strike. Go ahead, sir. No, not anymore. Well, yeah, they used to play a lot of games there. Mm-hmm.
And the shortstop, Jake Marquez.
That sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Two outs here, by the way. Jake Marquez, the final hope here for Maine. Yeah. Yeah, and that popped up into right field, foul territory, but no one's going to get to that. You know, I did one game there with FIU as part of the Homestead Challenge. That actually kind of happened to me, too. I got locked in. That press box area was very far away from the field, and that whole stadium felt cavernous. Like, if you can imagine, like, a baseball stadium that kind of felt like a horror show, that place did kind of feel like a horror show. The 0-2 hit into left field. That will drop. So Marquez keeps the train moving here for Maine. One out left to give, but Maine putting up a fight here with Jordan Shulafon due up. Still a long way to go, but I have to think if you're Coach Durba, Jim, you're liking the fight you're seeing out of your guys here. Shulafon lets that go in for the ball, 1-0. Man, you really brought me back, man. I was a student at FIU when I did games at Homestead. And Homestead, for those of you who don't know, it is way deep in South Florida, like way deep. Probably a good hour and a half from the city of Miami proper. There's not really any rural areas in South Florida, but if there is such a thing, Homestead is probably it. Definitely an area with a lot of farms. That's true. Homestead Miami Speedway's there. That one grounded towards short. Trafficante not able to field it cleanly, though. And all runners reach. And we've got bases loaded as Shulafon will reach on Stetson's first error of the game. All of a sudden, bases loaded here for Jeff Mejia.
Returning to the top of the lineup,
and Maine has the chance to make this very, very interesting.
Jeff Mejia.
Well, that's not saying much. FIU's not had a lot of postseason success. Outside of the when they went to Notre Dame to win the regional in 01, that was about it. You know? Unfortunately, I was not calling games for FIU then. I was actually calling games for them the following year when they went 2-Q in Gainesville, including a loss to BCU that I still can't quite believe happened. The 0-1, missing outside, 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Now, having said that, Maine has quite the interesting postseason history, especially in the 80s. Regular College World Series team back then. Made it 5 times, I believe, that decade. The 1-2 is fouled away. It was actually a true regional in a sense. Like, teams would go to one, like, neutral site stadium. It's a lot different than it is now, for sure. The 1-2 misses, 2-2 to count. In some ways, though, I think the current format is a little more interesting. I think it lends to a little more parity.
Finish him.
Well, that's what I mean by parity. Like to me, it was more spread out in that sense. Base is full here for Jeff Mejia. Stetson needs 1 more out to get out of it, and they get it! Tanner Martin blowing the fastball by Mejia for strike 3, and the Hatters secure their 6th victory in a row. 9-3 winners tonight over Maine. And Tanner Martin, he got into a bit of trouble, but he got out of it. And that will complete half of the scheduled 2-game set against Maine. As of right now, scheduled for tomorrow at 6:30. Of course, you, Jim, will be doing your own broadcast. So, but I have to say, I enjoyed it, man. It was a lot of fun. I don't get the chance to call games much this year with a partner, and definitely nice to have somebody who knows a little bit about Maine. So, anyway, thanks a lot, Jim. You're welcome. Jim Churchill with Black Bear Sports Radio, 92.9 in Bangor. And that'll do it for us here. Hatters scoring the win thanks in large part to the strength of a 5-run 5th inning. Plating another one in the bottom of the 7th to give us the final margin here. So, for all of us here at Hatter Vision, Charlie Franklin behind the lens. I'm Assad Bendion. Final score, Stetson 9, Maine 3. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow, 6:30 first pitch here at Melching Field, as Stetson and Maine wrap up the second of their 2-game set. But there is an outside chance that the time may change. If it does, follow Stetson Baseball on Twitter, and you will find out when that is. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.